Will Russia occupy all of Ukraine? Will there even be a Ukraine? These are the questions on everyone's mind. As the situation for Ukraine deteriorates and Russia continues to win in this campaign, how far west will the Russians advance? Will they stop at the Dnieper River? Or will they go all the way to Lviv and the Polish border? Their main objective was securing the Donbass, which they've all but done. The last major Ukrainian strongholds of Kramatorsk will be overrun in just a few weeks. Since 2014, not only has the Ukrainian army been busy training with and up to NATO standards, but they've also constructed a series of fortifications all throughout the Donbass. So once the Russians defeat the last of the Ukrainian units in this region, there won't be any defenses left. The path will essentially be open all the way to the Dnieper River and Kiev. This terrain is very flat and open, which is ideal tank country and hard to defend, especially without air cover. This is a similar situation to the Eastern Front at the very end of World War II in April of 1945, at the Battle of the Zalo Heights, the last defensive line before Berlin. The Germans had built up a network of defensive positions along these heights, which overlooked the flat plains to the east, where the Soviets were advancing from, giving them an advantage which allowed them to hold off the Soviets and inflict serious damage to their units. However, the sheer weight of numbers eventually caused the German defenses to collapse, and their positions were overrun. After this, the German lines of the Eastern Front ceased to exist, opening up the road to Berlin, a mere 65 kilometers to the west. We know that the Donbass is already spoken for and will never be ruled by Kiev again. That we can be certain of. It's also safe to say that the entire south along the Black Sea coast will either be incorporated into the Russian Federation or become an independent state or states friendly to Moscow. So why not stop now? Moscow freed the Donbass and controls most of the south, regions which are populated by a Russian majority. The problem with this, and allowing even a rump Ukraine, is it would leave the door open for the exact same situation which caused this war in the first place. Kicking the can down the road, it would probably take another 5 or 6 years, but Russia's borders with Ukraine, albeit shifted west, would still become a flashpoint as Washington uses NATO to rebuild the Ukrainian army, as it then proceeds to send artillery shells into Odessa, causing a Donbass 2.0. It's all or nothing, because even if the collective West and Ukraine agreed to not only a ceasefire, but a neutral and disarmed Ukraine, the Russians would have zero reason to trust or believe them, as their promises are as empty as a football stadium during the Women's Football Euros. So at this point, the Russians almost have no choice if they want to nip this in the bud and put an end to this Atlanticist campaign to weaken them with their Ukrainian attack dog, which is dangerous and has a powerful bite, but in the end is no match for a bear. So if they don't finish this now, it will dog them for years. Excuse the pun. Realistically, they have to push all the way to the EU borders of Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, and Romania. This will give them time to install a Moscow-friendly regime in Kiev, after which they could withdraw, leaving a landlocked and pacified Ukraine, never to take up arms against Russia again. The other option would be to negotiate some kind of partition of Western Ukraine with Poland, who have historic claims to this region, known as Galicia, as do Hungary and Romania, who may also want a piece of the pie. This, of course, would cause a huge political row in Europe and the collective West, which would only benefit Russia as the Europeans bicker with each other. Leaving western Ukraine to Poland would relieve Russia of the burden of having to occupy a territory with a hostile population that would no doubt see insurgencies, armed by the West of course, take its toll on the Russian army, which would be a huge headache for Moscow, unlike in the East where they were greeted and welcomed as liberators. This is looking increasingly likely as Kiev just passed laws giving Polish citizens the same rights as Ukrainians, effectively merging the two nations. This could lead to the dissolution or the creation of a very small rump Ukraine, or simply a Kiev city-state, as Warsaw takes control of whatever is left of the country, all at the stroke of a pen. Either way, the modern Ukraine that was formed out of the Soviet Union and the Ukraine SSR is gone forever, as we see major changes to Eastern Europe's borders once again.